If you say, oh, I didn't really mean to do that, or you want to reverse the action, it's pretty straightforward. Or down the track, you think, oh, what happened to that document? Oh, that's right, I've obsoleted it and I want to reuse that again. Pretty straightforward. Is just clicking on the reinstate. And what that does, it reinstates it back into the library that it was in the first place. You can let people know through this who to do if you like, or make any comments, but it's simply by just clicking on OK, and that allows the document to go back into that folder, which was 020, and there it is there. The other aspects on this process menu is when you do obsolete a document, if you did want to notify anyone about obsoleting that document, this is where you could do that as well. And that's exactly the same as when you're issuing a document, that it just sends an email out with a link to that particular document. Say, okay, this has been obsoleted. If you are looking for it, let us know if you do need to use it again and I can reinstate it, that sort of thing. Document info is exactly the same as the document info on the other process menu, and just allows you, if you do want to go into document information on a particular record, to save you having to go back to another process menu. There it is. Not great on making any changes at that point. It's just viewing the record regarding that document. Now, deleting a document is something that you want to be quite cautious on, because as it suggests, it deletes it. You can't retract it, you can't find it, you can't get it from anywhere, it's gone. Mainly used if when you're first creating a document and you make a mistake or whatever happens and there's already one there or something like that, you can delete that document. But for document management processes and controlling a document, it's best not to delete any particular document at all. It's best to go through the obsolete process and obsolete it into that particular library. But if you do happen to want to delete a particular document, we just click on the particular record. Now it's worthwhile, I usually highlight to people, is actually open up the document information on that record to make sure, yes, this is the one I want to delete. This is the information that concurs with what I know of that particular document. You could even actually open up the document and check the contents of the document as well, just as a double check. You know, the old adage of check 3 times and action once makes a big difference in when you're deleting documents. So what we do is, once again, we're clicking on the knowledge, the documents, and we do have the right record that we're wanting to delete, and we click on the delete record, or delete document I should say. Now this is just an extra confirmation on, is this the right one that I want to delete? So we type that in, bol.020, and yes, this is the correct one, and off it goes. Alright, so that's gone. That was POL020, so all gone. So once again, I do caution you on using that at all, really. It is there, but you know, be very cautious, and it really is just as easy to obsolete a document rather than delete one. Alright, we're just clicking on the back button here and going through the rest of them. The other aspects of this menu, the importing, is for importing documents into FastTrack. Now I can run a whole separate training session on that. There's a template that you fill in information about all the documents that you want to import into FastTrack, and then connect with that document through this browse button and go through that process of importing. A little bit more involved than that, but that's generally what we go through, but there are quite a few steps, and I have documentation on that if anyone's interested in doing importing of documents into FastTrack, but we won't go into it too much today. The unlocking is similar to when you check a document out and you want to access that document. You can click on unlock, and that allows you to be able to access that document in case someone's gone on sick and they've checked it out and you can't access it. That's a way of unlocking it. It's pretty much exactly the same as the cancel button here. When you check out, you can actually cancel that checkout as well. Same process as that one. Remove an entry. We will go into that after we go down into the lower process menu, but that's like when you, for example, you're removing an attachment or a document on this particular record, you want to remove it. It's used a lot more in, say, the compliance module, and when you've created checklists within the compliance module, and within a checklist there's lots of different questions, and you can remove the questions that you don't see, that you no longer need on a checklist. But it's used for different purposes on different modules and different functions. But it can be used quite readily as well, is that remove entry. The do action is more of a fast track. It's just adding code to do certain actions within fast track, and it's really just sort of a programming aspect that fast track use. Setup I will go into a little bit later on, and that's where I'll just show you quickly. This is where the information about what's happening on the back end of fast track. This brings up a window on all about the policies library. That's the actual the path to the policies library, and the different aspects of the policies library. It's who's controlling, or what department is controlling that library, and who the manager is in charge of that library, and who the assistant or the coordinator is in charge of that library. Or if we want to know the prefix of that library, we can look at it through this window as well. We will go into a little bit later on talking about these different aspects of the back end of fast track, and talking about the analysis code and the SS code, class code and priority code. So we can change those. They're the drop-down menus that can be used on the screens, and we can customize and change those if we so desire. There's a workflow status that we'll look into later as well, and this starts the whole calendar entry for the action process on what actions are being entered into the calendars. It then goes into what's called the diary interface, and this is about how emails are controlled within fast track and how the escalation process works. So we will go into that later on. That's a fair lot of information to take in, but if we're going okay with time, we should be able to get through that as well. But for now, I wanted to go down into the lower process menu. So to go down into the lower process menu, I always go back to the original, I suppose, where we start with the normal process menu. Click on the record, and once again we're in knowledge, we're in documents, we're in the policy library, and we're clicked on the record beside the record that we want to open, or the record that we want to view this information about. And down the bottom is what I call the viewing process menu, or the lower process menu it's also called. Now this one is used quite readily, used quite a lot. Don't use a record much. That just allows you to print out anything regarding this record, or emailing regarding this record. I don't find too many businesses use that too much, but it is there for your use. The main thing that I find is used in the update menu here, other than within different modules, is this add note. I find this quite handy on just any aspects that are relevant to this document that you want to take note of, and it keeps track of a history of any notes for this particular document, or remembering this applies to any module, to any record in fast track. There's always a fairly similar process menu down below, and you can add notes to any aspect of that along the way. And I suppose something to clarify, a lot of people ask, why is there notes and why is there comments? Something that we use as a guideline is, within the notes box are the actual facts. What is it that I'm wanting to get across here? And then the comments box is really supporting those facts. It may be a bit more of a description on those facts, and that's the main reason we use the two boxes. Obviously, if you don't need to, you don't need to put any information in there at all. And the involved one is, hey, who do I want to notify? Is there anyone I want to notify about this particular note? Always thinking through, do I want to use any of these boxes? No, not really, that's fine, but at least you've thought through, do I need to access this information later on? Do I need to put some more information in there? The changes in distribution is not really used at all. They're from different modules altogether. The history one certainly is. This gives us a bit of an idea on what's been happening on this particular record. So it goes through on, it's been versioned, it's checked out, it's checked in, it's been approved, there's been attachment to this particular record. So you can go back and if you want to view what's been happening, who's done what, it gives you a full rundown on who's done what and what date has been happening to that record. So it's a great audit trail, the history. I find that's quite used quite a lot.
Peter, may I make a comment?
Yes.
It's Lorraine here.
Hi, Lorraine. Yep.
I found that in ours it doesn't seem to go in actual chronological order. Each day seems to go in chronological order, and then the next day it works its way down in chronological order as well.
Okay.
If an action is taken, say at 3 p.m. on that document,
yes,
then the next action at 3:15, like the times don't show, but it looks as though the second action will come in underneath the first one.
Oh, okay. So it's out of sync.
It can be very confusing.
Okay, that might be worth jotting an email to one of our techies and get them to have a look at that and stipulate which is your preference. I know they can change.
Yeah.
It's not like
Peter, it's Evan.
Yep.
We had the same issue, but that wasn't known.
Okay. And was it addressed, Evan?
Yeah, I believe it was addressed. I haven't had a look at it since.
Okay.
But that was an issue that came up on our screens, and it was fixed up in the issues register, so it should be in our record somewhere.
Okay. And do you find it's only in the history one? I know there's a lot in related as well. Yep.
Yeah, it seems. Yeah, as the lady said, it seems to have sorted it on date, but it doesn't seem to take always the time into account.
Okay. All right. Let me check up on that. I must admit I've only looked at it from a day perspective rather than a time. Is a time an important one for you, Lorraine? I suppose if you're trying to work out.
Well, it is.
Yeah. What's happened over the.
Been going on.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Time frame. All right. I'm just writing that down, guys, on the history. All right. I'm always learning about this this software myself, so I'll clarify that and just pop it on an email to everyone if that's fine, on just how that how the time frame works. I know it works in obviously calendar process, but how the time frame works. So obviously the most latest you want on the top, and then it going down from there.
Yeah,
Okay.
always the latest should be on top.
Okay. Latest on top. I know it's not happening till mid next year, but I know we will have control with our next update. We'll have control over a lot more of the functions on this bottom process menu, because as you know, on the records, you can actually click and sort it and filter it in ascending or descending order, and that's what we want to be able to go to in the lower process menu as well. Is exactly the same process. So once we can do that, then you can sort it in whatever order. But I will check up on that on what's the default on that sorting of that history.
Is there any way to view times when an action has been taken?
Not that I know of. No.
Okay.
It might be something they're bringing out in the next update. But as you can see on these, it's just